Hey guys, this is Tarot with Kittens, Weights, and Tarot coming in with another spooky tale for you guys. A spooky true tale. So for you guys, I wore my Loki sweater, and of course I got like all the blinky on it. I love me some blinky sweaters. I have my mug of tea. It's a little hot to drink right now, but it's my blueberry lavender tea, which is so good. Anyway, so I've had a lot of fun sharing my spooky tales this month for the month of October, as everything is a little more on edge, a little more paranormal, a little more unexplained, a little more spooky. So with my stories, these are true stories. These are real things that did happen to me, and I do not have an explanation for them. Anything involving spirit, I just want you to know, is I don't think we should be afraid of spirit. Although I do feel like when there are things that we can't understand or can't explain, it does feel a little creepy. Although I don't think it's spirit itself should be creepy or something that should be feared. It should be something that, you know, we definitely look into and we try to understand. But, you know, in the spirit of having fun and, you know, having spooky tales and doing spooky things in the month of October, I thought it would be fun just to kind of share these stories in a more lighthearted fashion and not to instill fear in anybody in any way. So this particular story, the last stories have taken place in the home that I grew up in, which I still believe is probably super haunted. Although if I were to go back now, I don't think it would be quote unquote haunted anymore. I think I would have a better understanding and a respect for spirit, so it wouldn't be something I'm running away from and like, ooh, curse, like, get away from me, you know. So I think that seeing spirit through my eyes now would probably be totally different. I'd probably walk in that house now and be like, this is like so not haunted. But okay, so I do have a spooky tale to share with you guys from a high school that I used to work at. So I no longer work at this high school. It was one of the first high schools I ever worked at. And okay, so it was my, I don't know, I want to say my second or third year working at the school. And I was working in some of the older buildings on campus. There were some of like the original buildings. The school was built in 1950, but very interestingly, that particular high school, that wasn't its original location. The original location was about 20 miles east, and it was to encompass the people that were making their way to East County where I live. Well, people started heading further west, and so they had to move the high school to where the children were. So they ended up moving that high school, which was originally built in the 1800s, and moving it to its current location where it was built in 1950. So just a little FYI. What it was built on was a garbage heap. It was literally a junkyard, like for tires and stuff like that. And so when they did repairs on the school, they let people know that there could be possible carcinogens in the air, because they were unearthing like really old like garbage and tires and like great stuff that they should build a high school on where like kids are, right? That's the spooky part. No. No, that's the wrong part. But okay. So I'm in one of the original buildings, and to my knowledge, nothing like no tragedy has ever occurred on campus, you know, and I have, you know, asked around. So I don't have any explanation to what I'm about to share. So I used to like to stay late, you know, so that I could finish grading papers so I wouldn't have to take as many papers home with me. And so I'm in this original building. It has, you know, the linoleum tile. It's got one of those big junky like old school like heater air conditioners, because, well, I mean heaters, there's no air conditioning. It was like ceiling fans. Everything's that like green metal, you know, from the 50s. My classroom door has like a little circular porthole in it. And my windows have like, they're the kind you can crank so that the glass has like slats in it, so you can like open the windows to let air into room. So it's not like flat glass, you know, it's like slats of glass that you can open and close, kind of like blinds. So just to give you an idea of what my classroom looks like, it's got, it had about 40 desks in it, and I have my big teacher desk, which faces the door, the entrance to the classroom. I heard the last of the teachers leave, you know, this building. So this building, they're like long tube-shaped buildings is, I guess, how I can describe them, or rectangular-shaped buildings. There's double doors that lead in, and so it's a long hallway where double doors lead out, and there's classrooms that line like the hallway, and in between each classroom there's a bunch of old school lockers that those lockers weren't in use anymore, so the kids didn't use those lockers, so they had like chains all over them so the kids couldn't use the lockers. Okay, so I'm in the classroom, just grading, and I hear a girl crying, and it sounded like she was in the classroom next to me. And so I thought that the male teacher who was next to me possibly still had a student in the classroom, and maybe he was consoling her, you know, but the weeping was really mild at first. It was kind of like a muffled, like it kind of sounded like that. You know, it was like really muffled crying. And so I was like thinking, well, you know, that teacher's probably taking care of it. So keep going. And I hear the crying. Yeah, it's like, and I'm like, maybe I should go check. You know, maybe they need my help. So I put my stuff down and I, you know, kick open my door and I go to the classroom next door, to where we'll call him Mr. H, where Mr. H was. And so I look in his porthole and notice all the lights are off in his classroom, and it looks like he's gone home for the evening. And so I'm like looking around in there because you could see the whole like classroom, and I don't see anything. I'm like, I could have sworn I heard a girl crying. I was like, oh well, like maybe I'm around teenagers like too much all day. So I go back to my classroom, but I leave my door open, you know, so I put the door stop in, I leave my door open. I go back to grading. I hear the crying again. I'm like, what the, like, I was like, you know, so I ran over there and I don't see anything. I'm like, where is this crying come from? So then I decided I'm going to put my ear up against the wall to where I think I hear the crying. So when I heard the crying again, oh, hey, Loki. Loki has come to join us. He's actually going to jump just on the other side of the camera. Hey, dude. So I hear the crying again once I get back to my desk. I'm like, okay, I'm going to find out where this crying is coming from because it's driving me insane. And I want to find out where this child is so I can help them, because obviously they're in a bad place right now. So I go to the corner of my classroom to where it would adjoin, you know, the other classroom where we would share a wall. And I was going to put my ear up against the wall when in that corner it felt so cold, like a wind, like cold. And what's interesting is any student I ever sat back in that corner always complained that it was so cold and they felt uncomfortable, they felt uneasy, they didn't like being in the corner, they said they got really creeped out being in the corner. And I was just like, whatever. You talk too much, you need to sit in that corner. I didn't know I was sitting them with a ghost. Like, anyway, yeah, so the students would they told me over the course of the semester they really didn't like sitting in that seat. But, you know, I mean, they all got to sit in some seat, you know. I don't have a whole lot of extra desks. So, or space for that matter. So anyway, I go back to my desk and I was like, wow, that's really odd. Like now I'm getting like a little, like, okay, that's a little creepy. So, so then I go back, I'm gonna take a sip on this. And go back to my desk. I'm trying to continue grading. I'm trying, you guys. Then I hear kids in the hall. And by the way, the double doors have been locked and shut so that students don't come in. So they lock the campus, right? So students don't come back on campus, you know, when the final bell rings. So it's now, I don't know, it was like 5 or just after 5 p.m., you know, when I was grading. So it's not terribly late either. But I hear like kids laughing in the hallways, like ha 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 ha, you know, and it sounds like they're talking, but they're what they're laughing and talking about is so muffled, like I can't discern what it is that they're actually saying. I can hear their sneakers on, you know, the tile or the linoleum as they're going through the hallways. I can hear the lockers opening and closing. Like I hear like somebody opening the locker, grabbing their stuff out and slamming the locker. And I'm like sitting there because I know those lockers are chained closed. There's no way the kids can open the lockers, let alone have stuff in the lockers. And last time I checked, which was about 5 times when I was looking for a ghost girl in the classroom next door, there were no kids in the halls and all the teachers were gone. So I'm like, okay. So I'm waiting to see the group of kids because my door is open, right? I'm waiting to see the group of kids that's laughing and carrying on and hearing their sneakers, it's kind of squeaking along the tiles there, floor tiles, and I never see them pass by. So I jump from my desk and I'm going to go see if the kids are in the hall. I jump from my desk, and as soon as I hit the hallway, the noise stops. The laughter, the sneakers, the opening and closing of lockers, it stops. And I look in the hall. It's absolutely quiet. There's nobody there. I'm like, okay, now I'm a little freaked out. So as I'm heading back to my desk, I heard the double doors open. I heard the chinkling of keys. I must have jumped like 10 feet in the air. And I turned around and I looked and I noticed it was the custodians coming in now to clean the hall and to clean the classrooms. I was like, oh my God. And so I went back to my desk and I can hear, I had made friends with one of the custodians. She had this like cool, like almost like mini beehive, like red hair. And she's playing her Mexican music, really loud, and I can hear her singing along as she's pushing the little cart, with like the trash bags and stuff like that, so she can clean up. I hear her, cleaning out the classrooms, and so I decide I'm gonna talk to her, but I'll wait till she gets to my classroom. So she finally came to come empty my trash cans and everything, and I was like, okay, and we'll call her A because her name started with an A. So A was like, I was like, A. Hey, I have to tell you something like kind of weird. And she's like, okay, like what's up? She says, you're always working late. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to take stuff home, and I was like, okay, something weird happened just before you showed up and I need to share it with you. And she's like, ooh, like do tell. I tell her about the crying I hear next door. I tell her about the kids I hear in the hall. I tell her about the opening and closing of lockers and the sound of shuffling feet. And she's like, yeah, the school's haunted. You didn't know that? And I was like, what? And she says, that crying girl, she goes, I hear her almost every night. And she goes, right about this time, about like 5:30, sometime around there. And she was like, yeah, I don't know who she is, like we never had a death in the school or anything, so I don't know who that little girl is. And she goes, yeah, but she always seems upset. She goes, like, we thought it was a real child, so we were like trying to open the smoke from my incense freaked me out. She's like, we were trying to open like that next door classroom, and she says, and sometimes we hear it in your classroom. And so she says, but yeah, that crying girl, she's kind of in the corner of your classroom. Do you ever feel a cold spot over there? And I was like, yes. And I was like, but who are these kids in the hall? And she went, I don't know. And she says, teachers who do stay late do hear the children in the hall, always having like a ruckus, like a party, always laughing and talking. But yeah, there's nobody here, I assure you. She goes, it's just me and it's just you. And it's just Wally. She was like, but yeah, she says, there's little like hot spots, they call them, kind of all around the school. And she says, and me and the custodians know like all about those places. She goes, because you teachers don't really get to see all that stuff, once you go home. It's just us and the campus. And so she says, I would say This particular hall is one of the most haunted halls on campus. She says this is where, without a doubt, every custodian hears the children in the halls. They hear the laughter and all of that. They hear the crying of the girl that's connected to your classroom, the classroom next door. We've tried telling administration. They just all think that we're all superstitious, like crazy, like we're making it up. And she says, and it's not being made up if every single one of us on our own has heard the exact same thing and said the exact same story. Like, how can you make that up? She says, so since it doesn't seem to bother us, like it's just noise, she goes, that's why I play my music really loud. She goes, because I feel like it lightens the air. And she says, and I sing and I put in my headphones sometimes, and she goes, and sometimes it just like it helps me get my job done without thinking about spooky things on campus. She goes, but also, she says, do you know about room, it was like 800 something in the 800 building. And I was in the 100 buildings. The 100 building was supposed to be super freaky. So she goes, it was the 100 building, and it was like room 800 something. And I was like, what goes on there? And she's like, okay, well, that one, she says, yours is more just noise, where that particular classroom is physical. And I was like, physical? Like, oh my God, like poltergeist? And she was like, I don't know. She says, one of our male custodians one day, he went in to go like throw out the trash and change the trash bags and the trash cans. And all of a sudden he felt somebody like push him from behind really hard, and he turned around and was like, you know, like gonna fight somebody. He thought like it was a kid or something like that, and there was nothing there. And she says, and the next thing he knew, something from across the classroom got tossed at him, and he was like, what the, like he couldn't see anything, and he was like, what's going on? And then all of a sudden he felt like burning on his shoulder, like something was scratching him, and he was like, oh, F this, I'm out of here. And so he goes sprinting out of the classroom, and she says, and he called us all on the radio, and we like had a little powwow in the middle of school, and he was like, I am not going back in the middle of that classroom. That classroom, like something scratched me, something pushed me, and something threw something at me. And he's like, I'm not going back there without somebody going with me. So apparently 2 other men went to go investigate with him. Nothing, they didn't see anything out of the ordinary. And so he tried to tell the administration the next day that, hey, there's something wrong with that classroom. Something tried to shove me, something pushed me, something, you know, something was thrown at me. And they're like, right, so you're saying we have a ghost in a classroom? And they're like, okay, well, we pay you to take out the trash, not to investigate ghosts. And he's like, I'm not making it up. And they were like, and well, he ended up going to like the highest of the high, and he was like, no, there's something really wrong. So they said, you know, because they've gotten so many complaints from custodians over the years at that school, they said they were going to work it into the contract for that particular school, and any custodian that works at the school, that they have to work in pairs. Or if they so choose, they have to have a partner. So like the lady A who cleaned my hall, she didn't mind working alone as long as it was just that hall, but she would never go into that 800 room. So the man that all that happened to, he didn't really want to go back to that classroom. And apparently there was another male custodian who went to clean out that classroom, because he didn't really believe the other custodian. He thought like he was making it up. And so apparently something similar happened to him, except he felt somebody slap him across the face so hard, and he was so freaked out, he went screaming out of the classroom. This is what A is telling me, right? And she was like, you can ask any of like the custodians, like everybody knows, like this happened to 2 men. So I don't know if it's something that just doesn't like men, because women have been in there and nothing's ever happened. So it's something that doesn't like men. And yeah, so they go in pairs when they go clean that classroom, and as long as they're in pairs, apparently nothing happens. But she says, in your building, yep, you got a lot of noisy little children in here. And I was like, oh my God. So what do you guys think? So that was like my personal experience mixed with, getting in a little chit chat with A. And I had decided that my work for the evening was done. I was going to be taking the rest of the assignments home with me to grade. And actually it didn't deter me from working late in that building anymore. I still stayed late. I just kind of dealt with the noises because I realized it's like nothing that was ever going to hurt me or anything. I did every once in a while try talking out like, hey, if you need somebody to talk to, crying girl, like I'm here. And eventually the crying faded, and for the rest of the year I never heard her cry again. Every once in a while I'd hear the kids in the hallway, but for the crying girl, that kind of faded out the rest of the year. But yeah, so let me know what you guys think of that story. And if you enjoyed these types of videos, I don't know if I will continue them because I was just kind of doing it for October, but if you want me to continue them, maybe like once a month or twice a month, I don't know. It's up to you guys. Just let me know in the comment section down below. Wally, your tongue is really rough. But anyway, if you guys dug this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to click subscribe, and don't forget to click that notification bell for more videos just like this. And if you want to catch a reading from me, head over to www.kittenswaitsandtarot.com. I got all kinds of readings and mediumship readings. And if you want to throw a little love my way, think about joining that KWT tribe over at patreon.com/kittenswaitsandtarot. And don't forget, on my website, I have a link to my Wally's World Oracle, which has free US shipping. So definitely go check that out. That was something that was community created and community funded on Kickstarter. So definitely check it out. And I will catch you spooky spiritual homies later. Peace, love, and chicken grease. Peace out.